What is good, Cardano fam, Ada gang? We have lots of exciting updates to unpack today, so hit that subscribe, hit that like. Cardano ADA 24-hour trade volume surpasses $1.1 billion according to CoinGecko. Crypto.com launches their airdrop arena Cardano campaign with $250,000 in ADA rewards. Simply allocate CRO to join. The promotion ends January 1st. SEC Chairman Paul Atkins says, "I'm looking forward to having an innovation exemption for crypto firms. We'll be able to get that out in a month or so." Super bullish. Paul Atkins also says we're on track and will be able to forge forward with crypto and make sure we are able to embrace this new area of innovation. I'm looking forward to having rules that are focused on helping that sector of the economy move forward. Paul Altcoin Atkins, as we say. Vanguard, with $11 trillion in assets under management and a whopping 50 million investors, lists the Bitwise 10 Crypto Index Fund. This offers exposure to AVAX, Bitcoin, ADA, Chainlink, Ethereum, Litecoin, Polkadot, Solana, Sui, and XRP. And another one listing the Franklin Templeton Crypto Index ETF, offering exposure to Bitcoin, Cardano, Chainlink, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Solana, Stellar, and XRP. So they're listing a bunch of ETFs, and I think that Vanguard also influenced Bank of America. They will allow their wealth advisors to recommend up to 4% allocation to digital assets, starting with Bitcoin ETFs in January, according to its private bank chief investment officer, Chris Heisey, and Yahoo Finance. The floodgates are opening, guys. Cardano Strike Finance to launch Night Perpetuals with 10x leverage, making Strike the first platform to support trading perpetuals for Midnight Network. I think that's great. Perpetuals are super high demand, and more updates from them, especially good for all the CNTs. Strike will launch perpetuals for all Cardano native tokens on their version 1 platform after the release of version 2, which is designed specifically for blue chip cryptocurrencies, stocks, equities, and real world assets. Version 2 testnet goes live soon. Palm Economy arrives in Nigeria to begin onboarding the first wave of 1,500 cocoa farmers on Palmyra and Cardano. Of course, we reported on this in the past. They've already begun to start this process to give them their own decentralized IDs and verified credentials to map their farms, trace their cocoa end to end, and work with local buying agents. What a refreshing utility. Cardano's Lace wallet launches version 1.32 update, introducing Notification Center, a built-in feed with real-time protocol updates and governance news from Lace, plus key ecosystem partners, starting with Midnight Foundation to share core updates with Night holders. Great to have that feed built in straight into the wallet. Binance founder CZ predicts many more all-time highs coming soon. I like to see the positive sentiment. A lot of you guys don't like Alex Becker, but guys, he's Alex, I'm Alex. We're all Alex. Cardano holder Alex Becker says the coins people hate right now will 5 to 10x before we even enter a confirmed bull during the boring recovery period. Easiest gains there are if we recover into any kind of uptrend. Of course, take it with a grain of salt, but we know that the blue chips are often the most hated projects, whether it's ADA, whether it's XRP or others. The Cardano Critical Integrations Budget proposal reaches 64.6% yes votes, less than 2% away from the approval threshold. This is, of course, with the Pentad executive function team to move forward with tier 1 integration. So we're getting really close to approval, which is great. Charles Hoskinson says there's no reason we can't get to 1 billion people in crypto, but we get there by building real things for real people, solving real problems. I love that statement because as a UX designer, that's huge, right? User-centric design, solving problems, generating positive emotions. These are integral to onboarding people. Charles says, I can run an entire economy on a phone. This is your bank, your payment system. No middleman required. You tell me what that's worth to the billions of unbanked and underbanked people. Charles says we don't get retail unless we, as the whole space, offer something better. Economic agency and identity, self-custody, sound money, real interest rates, real economy. You are your own bank. You own your own identity and data. Charles says, I want crypto to work because I believe it's going to rebuild the economic, political, and social systems of the world. But that only works if retail shows up and we have to bring them back. And I agree with that. Charles says, I think our best days are ahead of us, but we have to return to first principles. Return to decentralization. Return to self-custody. Return to decentralized identity. Return to the principles that make crypto great. Charles says, if you return to first principles and you actually have a reason for doing what you do in the long term, not only do you win, you change the world. It's just that simple. And we're seeing guys with Brian Armstrong talking about liquid staking. We see Ethereum kind of involving Haskell. We see a lot of ways that the industry is now finally following suit with the design specifications that Cardano has been doing now for nearly a decade. Slow and steady wins the race. Polymarket predicts a 93% chance the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates by 25 basis points on December 10th. Good stuff. IOG, Midnight, and RealFi speaking at Abu Dhabi Finance Week. Good to see Midnight President Charles Hoskinson. Anatoly also, Solana co-founder, who was recently defending Cardano's design, which is great. Good to see more cross-chain collaboration. Big shout out to Charles for the retweet of Angry. He says, sometimes you have to wrap your ADA to be safe. Charles is awesome. He's always great at making funny jokes, and he's super entertaining, but also super knowledgeable as well. So big ups to Charles. Always trying my best, guys, to be the glue, be the middleman of positivity between the entities, and just focus on the Fuego news, right? We got to be productive. We got to be looking at the silver lining. President Trump says at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay because the money we're taking in is so great, is so enormous that you're not going to have income tax to pay. Well, is it idealistic? Is it fantastical? Sounds great. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if it puts people in a risk-on mindset and we have a lot of catalysts that are really opening up, then so be it. Now, I want to revisit this because some people were saying, oh, it's not USDC. Charles is not bringing USDC. So let's go over some kind of clarity, if you will. So we recently discussed how Charles was hinting at USDC being targeted for integration, saying that, quote unquote, if the Pentad proposal passes, then yes, it is. And of course, that is in response to this post, which is captioned Circle Confirmed. People were saying, no, he just means that it is my job to bring a stable coin. Well, then, which stable coin, right? If we turn the question to the people who are being critical, which one? USD1, RLUSD? Which one? Well, let's take a look. And of course, things are open for interpretation. We don't know 100%. However, when asked about RLUSD, Charles made it clear on the recorded space that Ripple is pursuing EVM endeavors, and he did pitch a self-serve portal, if you will, to RLUSD, but made it evident that RLUSD is not coming soon, and did make a statement saying that we gain substantial negotiating power if we get pre-existing large stablecoins. Now, let me remind you guys that USDC is even available on Monad and a bunch of other projects that are in the number 200 range, way lower than Cardano. So with an integration of USDC, we gain a lot more users, we gain a lot more liquidity, a lot more recognition. It's in the best interest of Midnight and Cardano. And when we move on to see what has Charles actually said, and all of these are timestamped, he said And I quote, the core entities Intersect, Midnight Foundation, Cardano Foundation, Emergo, and Input Output have been talking to Chainlink, Pith, Redstone, and stablecoins like Tether and Circle. So there's more reasons to believe that it's USDC and USDT. Maybe both, maybe one or the other. But at the end of the day, take things with a grain of salt. Of course, with a USDC integration, it's contingent on signing of the deal and getting it done. It's not to say that it will be coming out this month, but there are more reasons to speculate that it's USDC, not XYZ stablecoin, whichever one. But I'd like to know, what do you guys think in terms of the stablecoin situation, and is there one you prefer? I say I would love to see USDC, USDT, and then from there expanding upon other ones as well. And finally, one last statement is that some people would say, well, when he says to get our TVL, monthly active users, and transaction count higher, he means that he wants to build it up. And again, you see it's open for interpretation. Some people think that he wants to build up those metrics to secure USDC. But you could also argue the opposite, that by getting a massive gargantuan one with prestige, users, liquidity, and a big weaving of a network, you boost these metrics the highest possible, leaning into the quote-unquote pre-existing large stablecoins, tier 1. So, at the end of the day, there's different angles that you can see this, but I think there's more reasons to believe that it is USDC and or USDT. So just some food for thought. I wanted to expand upon that, give you my view on it, a little bit more context. But again, people will always have their own view and take on things. So the market's looking really good right now, guys. ADA back to 0.43, which is great. We had something like a 13 to 15% pump. We were the third biggest 24-hour gainer today, which is fabulous. Bitcoin is back 92. Like you see, just as if nothing happened, So, a broken clock is right twice a day. So I think in the end, the bulls will win. It's easy to be bearish. It's easy to just be like, it's going to go down. I can sit in summer and say it's going to snow, and eventually I'll be right. As the clock ticks from June to December, eventually I'll be like, aha, I was right. But it's all about the timing and being patient, and slow and steady wins the race. If we were betting on people, I think Charles and many others, the entities, I think we have this fantastic newfound unity, and we're more equipped than ever. We have the tech, we have the treasury, we have a fantastic community, good branding, good network effect, good narrative. So I think there's more reasons to be bullish than to be bearish, but no one knows for sure. So always take everything with a massive grain of salt. I think the big shout out definitely goes to Paul Altcoin Atkins, who is confident in crypto as a technology, and I'm very interested to see what is going to happen with this innovation exemption, because everything's kind of targeting January, from Bank of America to this exemption as well, alongside Charles's prediction of the Clarity Act for Q1 2026. But we'll wait and see, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Will we get USDC? Will we get USDT? And what do you think where we're headed going into the new year? Smash that subscribe, smash that like. I'll see you guys in the next Angry Crypto Show.